Welcome back to Spartan Up Podcast. We have Marion behind the camera, Dr. Johnny, our resident philosopher, David DeLuca, our resident all things natural and awesome, Sephra.
Thanks, Johnny.
And our resident lunatic, Joe, who is back. Speaking of lunatics, in the very best way.
This is a good one.
It was not planned. I found this guy literally in a hallway.
Yeah, incredible. You know what's funny with this is... I just love everything this guy has to say. Yeah. And you take so much away from all these podcasts, but this one, just to watch again and again and again, man, you want to talk about how to learn how to make everything in life into a gift and into something that you can leverage and make.
Don't tell my wife, but I recorded the podcast, just audio, and I play it in my kids' room at night when they go to sleep. So it's just through osmosis.
The voice of God, Barry Hearn.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast. We're with Barry Hearn from Matchroom, which is arguably one of the largest sports businesses in the world.
Yeah, I'm pleased to say you're just about right there. Thank you for that.
And you've been doing this 40 some odd years? 42
years now, yes, man and boy, and enjoyed every single second of every single day.
A lot of the listeners, and we've got literally millions of people out there, want to know how to stay motivated, how to become successful, how to get ahead. You got it all.
Well,
you're successful, you got energy, you got everything there is.
You don't want to tell too many the secret because the competition levels rise.
That's right.
But just for you, because you're involved in this amazing ongoing success story yourself, it's easy. It's so easy. It just involves on two things. Focus on your objectives. And when I say focus, that means there's no surrender, no retreat, no surrender. You focus and then you couple that with an unerring work ethic. So in other words, you have to be relentless, don't you? Whatever targets you set yourself, and don't be unreasonable or unrealistic, but by setting yourself targets and hitting those targets day after day, success will inevitably follow.
But there's a lot of people that say, well, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I'm not sure yet. I haven't found my passion.
Yeah, it can happen. You know, the sadness for me is every human being on this world is different. And every single human being has a unique ability to do something. The sadness is, most of them never find out what it is
that they should be doing.
And the only way you can give yourself even a fighting chance is by trying. Be realistic. I always wanted to be, when I was growing up, I wanted to be heavyweight champion of the world. I used to love the old fighters, and I used to get up at 7 o'clock in the middle of the night to listen to the radio with the fights coming in. And I found out that I wasn't good enough to be heavyweight champion of the world, so I became something else in that life, a boxing promoter.
What year was that? When you were...
Well, I started following boxing when I was 7, so it was about 1955.
Okay.
So I'm tail end Marciano, really. Dempsey was a hero. Sharkey, and obviously going on from there into the great Ali days, and he was an inspirational figure. That created a lot of interest, but I didn't have the ability, and you have to recognise the limits of yourself, but at the same time, don't start off by setting limits. Start off by being unlimited, because your potential is unlimited.
So big dream, and then start narrowing the focus.
That's right, and scattergun approach. Don't
in the early days.
Don't commit yourself in the early days unless you've got some really awesome God-given ability that is so clear. Most of us don't have that. But we're talking about lifestyle as well, aren't we? We're not just talking about making money or running successful businesses. We're talking about having a successful life, and that encompasses so much more. An athletic ability, or the prowess of riding a bike or walking up a hill, tennis, anything can add so much more to your life than just a game.
Sure. So that's interesting, because no one's ever said that. We've done 200 interviews. So start out early in your life, big scattergun approach, because you don't know what's going to fit with your life.
Correct.
And then just kind of see where it goes, because a lot of people don't even start because they're unsure, right?
Yeah. Well, you need paternal guidance a lot, don't you? You need someone to encourage you. It might be your grandfather, it might be your father, it might be someone at school.
Sure.
But, you will find that you will do something and a little light will come in your head and you say, I really love to do this. Now from then onwards, everything is bonus time. If you're doing what you love,
it's easy.
So easy. It's not work. I mean, my job is not work. It hasn't been work for 50 years nearly.
Sure.
Every day's a pleasure. If you do I mean, I was not the fastest marathon runner in the world. I loved every step because I was racing myself, not the clock.
Right.
And that made me a better person. It gave me a more better perspective in life, because you realise some people are your heroes. They're great, and you must have them in your sports. These guys are unbelievable, and you tip your hat to them. You're not actually worthy of looking them in the eyes.
Sure.
When you approach them, your head should be looking at the feet, humbled in the approach to being. But you, in your own world, can still achieve your own targets.
So some people listening, I think, would say, oh, well, Barry, that's because you're so successful. That's why the last 40 years have been so easy. You've got money, you've got success, you've had it, right?
Look, let me tell you something. I came out of the tenements, out of the basements, out of the councils. My father was a bus driver. My mother cleaned houses for a living. My father died when I was very young. I brought the family up. I know what it's like to be poor, not to have any money. That's one of the reasons why my focus was so good, because I channeled my efforts to being successful. And no matter what it took, I was not going to allow myself to be anything other than that. So I was relentless, 24/7. A lot of people talk about working hard, increase productivity. Let me tell you the secret how to increase productivity in your business or anyone's business. Start an hour earlier, finish an hour later. It works.
I like that. I like that. So you had a tough time growing up. Right, that gets you excited. What about people? What about the kids that are growing up in a good household where they didn't have a tough time? Because this is something I think about my kids and your kids.
It's
probably.
Tougher. It's tougher on them than it was on us.
Yeah,
we had nothing to lose.
So what do you do? What do you do?
What you do is you try and inspire them. I mean, it's a mental process of understanding what life is all about on a bigger picture. You know, whether it's living longer, whether it's actually improving how you feel when you get up in the morning, whether you find something that motivates you, which you want to do more than anything else. And it is, again, it's a trial and error process. There's no little black book which says, number one, you do this, number two, you do that. We're all humans. We're all very, very different in what we do. And we all take different roads. Some people go down the wrong road in life. Some people go down the right road. You know, we are only standing here for the grace of God, because we could have gone down the wrong road, but we were led in the right direction and we had enough sense to follow the right rules. Therefore, it works out.
That's an interesting point, because you talked about before, scatter strat approach, focus in, don't give up, be relentless. When do you pivot?
The day you die.
So you don't give, you're a pit bull, you don't stop, you don't make a left turn or turn around, never retreat?
Margaret Thatcher once said, a great leader of this country said, this lady is not for turning. Trust me, that's a very good motive to have. If you believe in yourself and the principles of how you live your life and the way you want to operate, be true to yourself. You know, don't try and be everybody's friend all the time, because it doesn't work.
Right.
Have those small group of people around you, mainly family, that you can relate to and trust.
Right.
Other than that, head down, focus on the little dot, the little light at the end of the tunnel, and pray that that is not a train coming towards you.
This is great. This is great.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
Let's talk about our mission to rip people off the couch. Life is a gift, and we don't want you to waste it. We need your help growing the Spartan revolution. We're not asking for money, but there are 3 things we'd like you to do. 1, we'd like you to click on the subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube, wherever you listen. 2, tell 10 friends about the show. And 3, get moving. What advice would you give those people that aren't motivated?
Give up, go home, and just don't trouble anybody, because you're a waste of time in humanity, you know? What do you want to tell you?
That's what I want to say, but I never say it.
If you want to surrender to weakness, if you want to be born with the knowledge that you have the ability but you don't want to use it, I feel sorry for people that don't have opportunity. The only people I feel sorry for, most of my sports we structure from the underside, the underbelly upwards, so youth tours, developmental tours, whether it's golf, whether it's fishing, Bring the kids in, the next generation. Give them opportunity. When I was young, where I came from, I had no opportunity because we're a very snobbish country, and it was very tough to get a job because of my background. No university, no degree, no rich dad.
Sure.
So I've grown up with a chip on my shoulder, which is why I'm so relentless, because it only frustrates me if people don't have the opportunity. Now, those that have opportunity and don't use it, I throw them away like a used tissue because they are worthless to humanity.
I love it.
And you can only blame yourself. I hate people that make excuses for failure.
Right.
You know, realists, they talk about pressure. Real people embrace pressure. Winners embrace pressure. Losers use pressure as an excuse for losing. So you make your mind up what type of person you are. I've got no time to tell you anymore. You know, when you talk about Spartan and you talk about endeavour, I wasn't the fastest marathon runner in the world, but my trainer, I had a full-time trainer who had one lung and did 176 marathons.
Wow.
And I was running my second New York marathon, and I was doing okay. And I got this huge blister on my foot after 16 miles. And it was like, stopped by the medics, they cut it out, they bandaged it up, and I'm waiting for the ambulance just to take me back. And then my trainer appeared.
One lung
trainer, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, you know, my foot, look, it's all bandaged." He said, "Have we come all the way to New York to bottle it, to swallow it now?" He said, "Get off your feet, get off your feet." He ran the last 10 miles, and this is on my children's life, he ran the last 10 miles backwards to make sure I finished.
Nice.
That's what I call relentless. People use words sometimes without understanding their meaning. It's not a game. Life is not a game in the same way as it's not a rehearsal. You can make excuses for not doing things every day of your life, but God has given us 24 hours. He didn't say you can waste a minute, and he didn't say you have to use every 24 hours, but he gave you 24 hours. When someone gives you a present of life, that's why you owe your mother and father more than anybody else in the world. They gave you the present of life. Right. Now, you abuse that. You are abusing your mother and father, and you are abusing God. We have no tolerance for people like that.
That's great. He's right. You're right. I mean, he keeps shutting me up because it's exactly what we say, right? It's our whole message.
Yeah, good. Well, keep selling the message. You won't convince everybody.
Yeah.
And people will always use failure as an excuse. But, you know, to me, the most important thing, when you watch your gigs and you watch, you know, the London Marathon or whatever, I'm impressed with the winners. They have my respect. I'm more impressed with the people at the back of the field.
Yeah, last place.
That refuse to give in.
Yeah.
I have a fighter called Michael Watson that was badly injured in a world title fight in 1992. Terrible brain injuries. For the first 6 months, I think only his index finger moved. He had 3 major brain surgeries. They thought he was going to die. A few years ago, and that's like 25, it's 30, nearly 30 years ago. 5 years ago, he completed the London Marathon.
Wow.
Took him 5 days, 7 hours, inch by inch by inch. Now, that, when you put that in, and then you get someone who works in an office, who's drinking fizzy drinks and eating fast food and tells you that he can't be bothered to do something with his life. Right. You know, we've got to keep educating these people. We've got to show them. You know, look at obesity in America. Look at the health. Yeah. Look at the diabetics. Look at the heart disease people. You know, and we've all made mistakes. Listen, you know, I used to smoke and drink and stay up late.
Sure.
I used to gamble. I used to do lots of bad things. But I had fun, and it was part of my movement as a human being. And then you get to a certain stage, you say, you know, I like this place. I'd like to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah, right.
How do I do that? And you make certain changes, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's not about winning necessarily. The battle is with you, not the race.
Right, and so you think we all get caught up in where you stand versus other people who
you
really...
get people saying, oh, I don't want to go in this, I can't win it.
Right.
Well, we're not spoiled children. We have to understand that some people have got more ability and some people are better prepared and some people are more athletic. We understand all of that. The battle with yourself, when you sit at home, I remember finishing one marathon and crying my eyes out. I was so elated. And I turned around and there was a guy just in front of me. He must have been 7 foot tall. And I said to him, how old are you? He said, I'm 81. He was from Norway. Wow. And he beat me. And I thought, do you know what? life's a great place.
Yeah, right.
And there's a bonding that goes on in those type of things that it's unnatural.
You can't
You
replace
make
it.
friends and change lives.
You're gonna think I'm nuts. So I got my 7-year-old to run the New York Marathon.
Wow.
It was unofficial, obviously, because and
but that's in his DNA, so you can't mess with DNA.
Yeah, it took us 5.5 hours.
It's still great.
He got it done, and then you see the 80-year-olds that get it done, and so you're right. It's that fighting spirit. That, by the way, that's exactly what you were talking about in there, right? Because that's the thing that's fun to watch.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
We're watching a soap opera of people. These guys dressing up in funny clothes, or just it just gives you a purpose. Life's about having a purpose, and the first purpose is family, friends. The second purpose, hopefully, if you're not too selfish, is you yourself, your welfare.
Sure.
And the third purpose is trying to enjoy our limited time on this. How do we do it?
Sure.
And some people are different. Some people inject it in their arms, sniff it up their nose. Right. But at the end of the day, they're not really getting much out of life. And the education to kids is, there's another way to feel high without taking anything that's illegal.
Sure.
And actually, participation in any type of sport gives you a high that
you can't
it's
beat.
really scary. It's scary how good it is.
Sure.
When you're running, you get the endorphins kick in, and
unbelievable.
You think everything is so sweet. I mean, they run out eventually when you hit the wall or whatever.
Sure.
But for that period of time, you're
incredible.
on another planet. And how can you experience that in life? In business, it's the same. Sometimes you'll do a deal and you think, wow, I mean, I'm charged up. Right. Before we came out here, I did a deal on the phone just then. I'm supercharged. And I'm going home thinking, today, all you want to do when you go to bed is to say, the last words you say is, today was a good day.
Right.
Let's make tomorrow a good day as well. That's the point.
And one last thing. God forbid you lost a leg, you're sick, somebody died.
Well, the thing is, it's what you're made of. It's about character as well. I go down and we see a lot of the kids coming back from Afghanistan, from Iraq, in the what I call the repair centre.
Sure.
And these guys, what they're overcoming, and I'm not even talking about the mental trauma, because in some ways that's an even worse thing than losing legs. But to see these kids
come out of
that and actually make a contribution to life and their own life is the most motivating thing you can ever see.
Sure.
And, don't tell me my boxers are brave going in the ring. Let me show you these kids who are rebuilding their life.
Sure.
But there's a way, if you've got the character and the tenacity to do it. The only other way is to feel sorry, revert into yourself, draw into a cocoon, and then you need some serious help. Right. But how many of these kids, you must see them all the time.
No, we see them, they come out, they do our races with prosthetics. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and you're humbled. You're humbled in their presence. Nor me. It's a humbling experience. They come to a lot of our shows. We always put a petition of seats to one side for them. They come in, no legs, no arms, whatever. They have a great time. They have a chuckle. They might have a beer or two.
Sure.
And you think, do you know what? Life is such a sweet commodity, and so much of it is in their head.
Last bit of advice for the audience. Want to be successful, want to get ahead. One snippet, one sentence. What would you tell them?
Well, let me tell you, if you don't believe in yourself, how on earth do you expect anyone else to believe in you?
It's a good one. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yeah,
great pleasure, my friend. Great pleasure.
This guy was one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I mean, he was... the things he said, the things that I think about, like, all the time.
It's funny because I wouldn't know an academic like you. When I interviewed him, he was definitely rough. Mm-hmm. He had a real rough feeling to him, almost like a tough part of London boxer. Mm-hmm. Obviously runs a big business, so I wouldn't know if it would resonate with you, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, the big takeaway for me was that he said life is a gift. Is that you only get one life, you only get 24 hours a day to do something with. And what I think about a lot is that with your life, there's really no alternative to your life. You have your life or you have not existing. And really anything is better than not existing. Mm-hmm. So when you realize that your existence is only one thing, and it can only be one thing, there's no question about motivation. There's no question about, feeling stuck. There's no question about, what inspires you. You're here. Good luck.
Right.
If you don't do something with it,
Well,
You missed out.
You don't do
he said,
something,
you
you
don't go in the corner and kill yourself.
Which hopefully,
There's the rough side.
If
We're
you're
not
watching,
promoting
we're
that.
not promoting going in the corner and kill yourself. But
No, but
get
he's-
motivated. Get out there and get something done.
Well, it's funny though, because on a serious note, when you look at the person who is in that space about is this even worth living? And as you say, of course it is. And that's what he would say. He wouldn't grab somebody and say, go kill yourself. He'd grab them and shake them and say, go live yourself.
Yeah,
right?
look at all this, look at all this thing around you.
And just the idea that, as he said, I love the way he started. You said, how are you doing? He goes, fantastic. 30 years ago, I've never had a bad day. Life is incredible. And what a guy to be around, right?
Man.
That's fantastic.
He never stopped. He was on.
Yeah.
He was on, and he's had some rough times. Apparently, he went bankrupt. And it's not all snooker. Was not the big sport. Darts, right? Yeah. Boxing. I'm sure he's had his ups and downs. But you're right. On fire. Yeah. On fire. Like as if it was all scripted.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you be? In terms of I like to live that way. Wake up every morning. What did he say? He said, the last thing you should say to yourself when you go to bed is, it was a good day. And when you wake up, you should say, it's going to be a good day. Yeah. And go back to what you said, because you're here. Like, why wouldn't you make it a good day? And here's a guy who really, truly lives that mantra. Also, I loved that he set you on your heels a little bit when you said, wow, 200 interviews, first person who's ever said this. He didn't talk about focus right from day one. It was almost the opposite. He said, work really hard, but take a scattershot approach. Like,
hallelujah.
And the idea that unless
Hallelujah.
you're that one person who knows, what you're going to be from birth, and that's your gift. Most people never find out what their gift is because they latch onto the first crappy thing that comes along and work really hard at that instead of being willing to stay open to that there may be something that they discover down the road.
And that applies to a business plan, or that applies to high school, Dave? We were talking about that yesterday, right? So
I did graduate college.
No. No. But high school in the sense that you can define yourself as a jock. Remember we had that conversation,
yes.
right? And so don't close other things off in your life, because you might find out that no, you actually were a computer programmer, not a jock.
Yeah. But he also said, and I thought it was incredible, that the way you find out what you are is by finding out what you're not. He said, I wanted to be the heavyweight boxer of the world. And then I found out I'm actually not a very good boxer, but I had to do it to find out, right?
Sure.
So it's not to not try.
Doctors do that, by the way. Doctors rule out all the things that aren't happening.
Sure, yeah.
To try to figure out what is happening. So do a lot of things and just check off, nope, not that, not that, not that.
And the only way that you can find that out is to try and fail. Yeah. And unless you're driven to try that again, it's like, okay, I like your term pivot, right? Yep. Although you did say to him,
pivot when you die.
He said to him, when you pivot, he said, when you die.
Well, and another thing he said about that, he said the last person that I want to meet is who I didn't become, or
whoever I could have been.
Whoever I could have been, and like shoulda, woulda, coulda. Those are all some really detrimental words. But so many people, like I for a lot of time move a lot, always try new things, build putties, and then go off to wherever, But
we know.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. But it's true. Like so many people like have the courage. If your inner voice and you have a passion to go do something, even if everyone around you is saying, "Don't do it. Doesn't make sense. Have to stay on this like cool and calm path." If you're called to do something, try it out. There's a reason, and that can lead you. To really beautiful things, and to meet, to network, to do everything. Your life is.
You just got to be doing. You just got to be doing. Right.
But life is, for me, is not a one path shot, scatter shot.
I did want to touch on one other thing that he said, though. When you find that one thing, he said it is not difficult to be successful. He said it's very, very easy to be successful. He said you have to be totally focused. When you find that thing, you're totally focused. And then you have, what do you say, relentless work ethic. And I love when he said, people don't understand what relentless means. It means not relenting. And so the idea is, you're absolutely right. Go be willing to explore and find what it is. But the cool thing was, when you find what it is, and people say, I'm so frustrated, I finally know what I want to do, but I can't get there. And he would say, yes, you can. You get up every single day. But he said, you want to be more productive? Go to work an hour earlier and leave an hour later. Like, he's got a lot of very simple solutions.
They're simple. But I know we're running over here, but I got to say one thing. Yesterday we had the wrestling camp.
Yeah.
And I was listening to somebody speak, and he never got into a state championship 3 years in a row, and he was completely frustrated by the third one. And so he ran up into his room. His father was unsure what was going on, if he was going to start breaking furniture or whatever. He was furious. And he pulled out his shirt, the one that was second place or whatever it was, and he wrote with a Sharpie on it. The next year, he was going to get into the state championship. He wrote everything down, grabbed a hammer and a nail, and nailed it to the ceiling over his bed. His father thought he was breaking things in the room, ran up, and he's nailing this shirt into the ceiling. He goes, every day for 360 days, I looked up at this thing, got completely focused, as you point out, and he goes, I made it to the state championship. I went undefeated, and so that's what you got to do.
Absolutely, relentless.
Yep. Cool. All right, so let's relentlessly get out of this.
Sephra, tell them where they can find more of our podcasts.
Use SpartanUpPodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to another epic story of success.
We hope you enjoyed the episode. To find more show notes, audio, and video, please visit us at SpartanUpPodcast.com.
The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.